How you doing, folks? And welcome back to the finale of Hot Takes. I'm your host, Marcus, and it has been a wild ride. And as you can see here on the screen, we have crowned a champion. It is the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I know in the last episode, I proclaimed that I had the Phoenix Suns winning. And honestly, that was really more so I felt like they were the better team overall. They had the better structured team. I felt like from a coaching standpoint, it could have went either way. And honestly, I wanted to see Chris Paul get his championship that he's been in search of for so long. And he's well overdue that championship. Now, his window is not closed, as some would think. But regardless, the Milwaukee Bucks showed up. Big shout out to Mike Budenholzer, coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. He made all the necessary adjustments to which Monty Williams was not able to counter. And it was just an amazing series. In the final game, Giannis put up 50 points. He dropped 50 points. And for whatever reason, the Phoenix Suns could not get it going. Now, I do remember saying that one big key factor in the opportunity for Phoenix to actually win the championship, sorry for moving my mic, is that DeAndre Ayton had to dominate the boards, which he failed to do 4 games in a row. He had a hard time getting double digits, and Chris Paul is also at fault here because he became a turnover machine. I don't know what happened to him. Maybe it was nerves. I can't tell you, but regardless, the man wasn't himself. They pretty much looked like the Houston Rockets when James Harden was all they had, and it's unfortunate, but that's what happens. So congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks, 2021 NBA champions. It literally comes 50 years after their first ever championship in 1971, led by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, formerly known as Lou Alcindor, and Oscar Robertson, the Big O. They have not won the Eastern Conference Championship since 1974. So this is an amazing feat for them. Do I think they can repeat? It's possible, but it's just not likely. The league is going to come back even stronger than they were last year, and it's just amazing. Now, speaking of Giannis Antetokounmpo, that's this guy right here, number 34. He is an amazing athlete, and his journey to winning a championship is nothing short of absolutely amazing. Now, for reference, I have a picture here. The point of conversation lately has been whose championship means the most. Is it LeBron's championships? Is it Kevin Durant's championships? And honestly, if we're talking about championships by merit, no one's championship here means more than Giannis Antetokounmpo's. He got it the hard way. He didn't take any cheats. He didn't go to another team. He didn't join a super team. And that's what's even more important about this championship than anything else. This is the era of the super team, where these stars, these MVP caliber players are joining forces to win a championship or two. And instead, Giannis Antetokounmpo took it upon himself, and he looked at every player who was not on his team as the enemy. He took on the classic 90s, or should I say what they call the late great Kobe Bryant's Mamba mentality. And it's just been nothing short of amazing. He wouldn't even talk to players during the season, even during the off season. He would not talk to anyone. He was working on his game. He only worked with his teammates, his coaches. He didn't want to talk to LeBron James. He didn't want to conversate with a bunch of other guys because to him they are the enemy. And that's the competitive edge that I feel like gets lost in this era that we're in right now. And while people like to point fingers and blame people for this right here, of course they're going to blame LeBron and then they're going to blame KD for taking it up another notch. What's interesting is, so when LeBron won his championship in Cleveland, he had to go to Miami and team up with 2 superstars to get those 2 championships. In the middle of that, we had Dirk Nowitzki in 2011 take home a championship for Dallas, the lone championship for Dallas in his whole career. Giannis Antetokounmpo this may be his only championship of his career, but to quote him, well, I'm not going to quote him directly because he's a little bit of foul language there, but he did say he could have joined a super team. He could have played his role and won a championship, but that's the easy way. He did it the right way. He did it the hard way, and that championship means so much more to him than anything else that LeBron or KD could have done. Like LeBron's biggest championship moment was in 2016 with the Cleveland Cavaliers, because that was 50 years of just desolence for the entire state of Ohio. They had never won they had not won a championship professionally in that, in that state. Like, it was just desolate. It wasn't working. But he finally got it done. Unfortunately, he had to team up with bigger stars to do such a thing. Maybe not as big as Dwayne Wade, but Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love wasn't no slouches. Okay, when he went to the Lakers, though I don't technically call it a super team, it's still far and away better than most teams had when he got AD. And when Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City, which honestly he never should have left, because he had pretty much the Warriors set up. It was him and it was Russ and it was James Harden and he had Serge Ibaka and it was a magical lineup. I think they had just gotten Steven Adams. They were still in their baby phase, and he, for whatever reason, decided to join a team that didn't need him. You gotta remind anybody that team that he joined had just previously won 73 games. That team doesn't need another MVP. They had Steph Curry. They had Klay Thompson. The Splash Brothers. You have the leader in Draymond Green. You didn't need a Kevin Durant. They'd already won a championship without him. And he joined them. And then he won his 2 championships. And now he's on another super team in Brooklyn. It's the age of the super team. And Giannis, he was literally David slaying Goliath here. Now, unfortunately, he didn't have to face a Goliath because, health and everything. But that's how the cookie crumbles in the NBA or in any kind of sports league. It's next man up. Health is part of it. Health and nutrition is always going to be a part of it. So, moving forward, I've always had this kind of this comparison between players. Personally, I believe that Russell Westbrook is nothing but a shorter version of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Mind you, I forgot to say this earlier. Mind you, everyone wonders how much longer is Giannis going to play. People tend to forget. It feels like he's been in the league forever. Giannis is 26. He's 26 years old. His prime hasn't even really started yet. He hasn't peaked at all. The average male peaks athletically between the ages of 27 and 30. He's 26. This is him at 26. Now, is he one of the more skilled players in the league? From, if we're going to look at him and compare him to Kevin Durant, no, he's not that skilled. As him and James, Giannis and James Harden had a beef earlier this year where Giannis was said, where James Harden was said as he wishes that he could be 7 feet tall and just run and dunk and lay the ball up. Like that takes no skill. Well, James Harden, who has the last laugh now? Yes, you have all the other skills, but you ain't got no championship. Good things come to those who work for it. Now, I always quote Kevin Durant in conversations amongst other sports fans. Something he said a long time ago, and I know he got it from one of his old coaches, but it's true. It's absolutely true. Which I have no idea why he abandoned it for some reason. And it's the right competitive attitude to have. The quote is, hard work. What is it again? It's hard work pays off when talent fails to work hard. So they're basically saying we have more talent, we're going to win. That's the super team idea. More talent means we win. But nobody has to work but so hard. Why are you trading in hard work for talent? Why are you doing that? That doesn't make any sense. Now, Russell Westbrook, on the other hand, is in a situation where he's being sought after, and Russell's not a spring chicken. Russell's in his 30s now. There's, time is ticking for that guy. He's in Washington right now, and they're getting ready for a new regime. They got a new coach. They got new staff. The team, personally, I think they should go ahead and just, tear it up, rip it up, try something new. I mean, personally, if I was them, I would probably start off by looking at who I can draft as a combo guard because honestly, historically, they have two players that are, Washington has Russell Westbrook, who is nearing the end of his prime, and though he's like an Iron Man most of the time, not really sure. His championship window is just about as open as Chris Paul's is. He's going to have to join the team and take a lesser role to win a championship now because even though he's just a shorter version of Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's also 31, 32 years old. I mean, it's not a whole lot of ways you can actually slice that. I mean, he's leaving his prime. He needs a team that's going to be there to pick up his slack. And Washington just ain't it. He's not in a winning situation. So as you can see here, he's in a Lakers jersey. Right now, the Lakers are probably going to be the ones pursuing him. The only other teams I can see possibly pursuing him might be New York. But in order to acquire him, they're going to have to make up for that $44 million that he is due this coming season. And the only way they're going to be able to do that is probably extend players that they currently have to longer contracts, bigger contracts, and try to trade those pieces for him. The problem is you'll be breaking down all that you gained this past season in New York for a player who is falling out of their prime, and you won't have anything around him to continue going. So that doesn't make a lot of sense from New York's standpoint. Possibly the Trailblazers, but why would the Trailblazers do any of that? They're worried about possibly losing Damian Lillard, and that's tough. But I mean, it always, it comes down to these things all the time. Like, you have to be ready for the next move. Giannis winning this championship in Milwaukee, maybe that can reinvigorate Dame to want to stay. And I don't know if he wants to leave, honestly, but it's not looking too good. I mean, he didn't get the coach that he wanted. There's a good chance that he's going to lose Carmelo Anthony unless he decides he wants to stay in Portland. The whole thing with him and CJ McCullough being in the backcourt has just not worked. It's a nice theory, and when they're on, but it's not sustainable. Russell Westbrook has the motor. He just doesn't have the time anymore. Once upon a time, he had the time, but he doesn't have it anymore. Personally, if I'm the Washington Wizards, I know I have Rui Hachimura at the 4. I have Denny Avdija who can play the 3. If I'm them, I'm looking to draft a combo guard. That's someone who can handle the 1 and the 2 position. Is just as efficient at shooting as he is orchestrating the offense. If I'm Washington, I need a combo guard. And if they can get that in the same timeline as a Denny Avdija, as a Rui Hachimura, they stand a chance to compete, and this reboot that they're doing on the fly can actually work. They're probably going to end up losing Bradley Beal, especially if they trade away Russell Westbrook. If Westbrook goes, they'll be asking a lot of Bradley Beal to stick around for a new regime, and Bradley Beal is actually in his prime right now. I'm sure he'd like to win the championship. It's just not going to happen in Washington. Like, he would play. If he stayed in Washington, he would be playing the rest of his career out as a Wizard in constant flux. Right now, as they stand, the Wizards look more like Detroit right after the championship runs and they had nowhere to go. That's not good. All right? So that's just important to keep in mind. Now, speaking of peoples and their futures, Chris Paul just lost the NBA Finals. He's up for a big-time payday. He's more than likely not going to stay in Phoenix. Now, here's the problem with that. The whole reason that Phoenix made the championship outside of being healthier than other teams is Chris Paul. He led them. He was the leader that they needed. Well, Phoenix has a lot of decisions they have to make. If Chris Paul leaves, more than likely, Devin Booker's not staying. You lose your leadership, you lose a lot. Your best player overall is Devin Booker. But Devin Booker's not going to want to stay if Chris Paul leaves. So if I am Phoenix, I'm looking at what I have. I have Bridges. I have DeAndre Ayton. And they're very young. And so if I'm them, I'm looking to get someone that's going to fit their timeline. If I can make some trades, I'll do that. But just swallow the fact that you're probably getting ready to lose your 2 best players from this past season. It just is what it is. Chris Paul, on ESPN, the conversation was, is his championship window closed? Some say yes. I say not necessarily. And I want you to take a look at the two players in the back of this picture. Anthony Davis and LeBron James. So long as LeBron James is still in the league, there's a chance that you can win a championship because his level of play has not fallen off but so far. Yes, he prefers to have a good team around him. Personally, what I think is going to happen with the Lakers, like I said in previous episodes, I believe that this era of basketball will not end until both Carmelo Anthony and Chris Paul both play in the finals and or win their rings. Their best chance is to join the Lakers. They just have to take team-friendly deals. Doesn't mean they can't get paid. They're just not going to get as much money as they would have. And at this point, Chris Paul has to think, do I want to get paid or do I want to solidify my legacy and win a championship? You want to win a championship? Talk to LeBron James and the LA Lakers. You'll be there. I mean, just take a team-friendly deal. You're a free agent this season. I mean this offseason. You're a free agent. You do that. Carmelo Anthony, unless he decides for whatever reason to stay in Portland, which if he did, it wouldn't surprise me because Portland took a chance on him when he was out of the league because of the stigma that he wouldn't be able to accept his role as a backup. But, that aside, it's going to be an amazing situation. I can already see Chris Paul and LeBron James and Anthony Davis all starting being a part of the starting roster, and then you bring someone like Carmelo Anthony off the bench to lead the second unit. That team would be beautiful. Now they're gonna have to lose Horton Tucker. They're gonna have to lose Kyle Kuzma at some point, which they can trade for other pieces. The Lakers have options at the point guard position. I mean, if they sign and trade, they can move Dennis Schroeder out of town, which there's no reason for them to keep him anyway. He failed them horribly this year. He was serviceable. He wasn't a Laker, he didn't play up to the Lakers standards. So that's kind of how that works out. Kyle Kuzma, honestly, I feel like Kyle Kuzma would be better off in a smaller market where he has to work on his game. I say send him back home to Michigan, because he went to LA, he changed the color of his hair, got all those tattoos. The boy went Hollywood and forgot how to play basketball after his first year. I don't know what happened. Personally, I think that, if they would have traded him to New Orleans, in that package deal that got them Anthony Davis, I think that would have been better for his career because he'd had to keep on proving himself. Now he's got a championship. He's been playing in LA his whole career so far. He don't know how to act. He's riding, he's riding a wave, and that's a bad thing. All right, so there's that. Now, to finish the show, just recently, Space Jam: A New Legacy, the LeBron James version of this movie, just released, and I wasn't gonna watch it, but I decided to give it a chance. And I wasn't gonna watch it not because I didn't care. I wasn't gonna watch it because it's not marketed to anyone like me. I saw the original version in 1996, and I was roughly 8 years old when it came out. And what captivated me about that movie, man, why am I getting so much mail right now? What captivated me about that movie was the cartoon characters. As a kid, I didn't care anything about Michael Jordan. I mean, I was a sports fan, sure, but I didn't like Michael Jordan back then because, to me, I guess there was too much of a media circus in the sense that he got all the credit and his teammates played second banana. He just didn't, to me, it was the players around him didn't get enough credit for their part. I mean, never mind the fact that, he didn't sniff he didn't sniff the finals until he got Scottie Pippen, and then the team ran out and got Dennis Rodman. None of that seems to matter when we're talking about Michael Jordan and his greatness. But basketball aside, we're talking about the movie now. The most memorable thing about Space Jam, the original movie, was the soundtrack. This Space Jam movie is marketed to today's kids, which I gotta say, if you've interacted with any of the kids of today, that's a little tough. It's kind of hard to gauge these kids on what they're really interested in. So I think they did a pretty good job. The only thing that really only thing that made me want to watch this movie was I knew that there would be some nostalgia purposes here. I knew that there would be some callbacks to the original movie here and there, subtle hints. And honestly, I just don't miss a chance to see Don Cheadle on the big screen. Don Cheadle's one of my favorite actors. If I can see him any given time, I'm going to watch Don Cheadle. So that was interesting for me. Now, after seeing the new Space Jam movie, and hearing all the criticism of how bad it was, this, that, and the other, I have to say to the adults watching this movie and criticizing it so harshly, grow up. It's not for you. I'm an adult myself. It's not for us. It's for these kids who didn't grow up with those things. I think the biggest problem with this movie, if there is a problem with this movie, is the disconnect between generations. LeBron James is from my generation, our generation. So he grew up watching Looney Tunes like the rest of us did. This current generation did not. So this is him introducing what we had to them. You know, they know of Bugs Bunny. They know of Daffy Duck. They know of Tasmanian Devil and Tweety Bird, but they don't know everybody else. They don't know about Foghorn Leghorn. They don't know about Porky Pig. They don't know about Granny. They don't know about Sylvester. They don't know about Speedy. There's so much that they don't know about because they didn't grow up with it. And I feel like the problem is a disconnect. Maybe, I don't know, something else could have been done to kind of get the kids up to speed. Maybe they love it, but from what I understand, the kids love the movie. They have nothing negative to say. They either don't say anything or they just enjoyed it. And that's really what it's about. It's about holding their attention. Now, if I'm giving these movies ratings based on what I've seen, because I did recently watch the old Space Jam movie, and honestly, as a kid, the cartoons kept my attention, and you know, all the crazy antics was really pretty cool. You know, also Bill Murray showing up at the end of the movie was kind of weird, but still kind of cool at the same time. You know, all the cameos from NBA players like Larry Bird and Patrick Ewing and Muggsy Bogues and Sean Bradley. Sean Bradley, good Lord. You know, all those guys. That's what made that movie pretty cool. You know, that and the soundtrack, which is the most memorable thing about the original movie. Product placement was everywhere in both of these movies. You had your main protagonist, 96. You had Michael Jordan. 2021, you got LeBron James. The movies take completely different directions, so they're really nothing alike. Outside of the cartoons and the name, they're really nothing alike, honestly. They have two completely different expositions. Like, the stories are completely different. The meaning of the stories are completely different. And it's just amazing how people want to compare these two things as if they were the same, and they're not. You know, I think that anyone who watched this movie as an adult and hated it, you just don't, as a sports fan, specifically as sports fans, you don't like LeBron James. Just say that. If you don't like LeBron James, fine. Just say that and move on. Don't ruin this for the children. This is their movie. Okay? As an adult, if I'm rating them, pretty much, with both movies fresh in my head, on a scale of 1 to 10, and I do a 0.1 system. So from 0 to 10, Space Jam: New Legacy, I give it a 6.5. It was entertaining. And also, I found it kind of funny how the WB made themselves the bad guy in their own movie. That was kind of cheeky. I like that. It poked fun at themselves. That was pretty cool. Again, I've said it 2 or 3 times already. The rating for the original Space Jam, I give it a 5.8. Acting was off. I mean, Michael Jordan is not as good an actor as LeBron James. That doesn't mean LeBron James is a good actor. He's an athlete, but he's not a great actor. But between the two of them, you can tell Michael Jordan was straight up reading cue cards. It was pretty obvious. Like, it was bad. It was bad. Same thing with the other NBA players too. So, I mean, from that aspect, apples and oranges. The most memorable thing about Space Jam 96 version is the soundtrack. From R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly to Seal's Fly Like an Eagle to Basketball Jones. All the soundtrack was the most captivating thing about the entire movie. I listen to Space Jam, the original version soundtrack any day of the week and have fun. Personally, I think that everyone, if you're into this, if you have kids, take them to see Space Jam. Or if you got it on HBO Max, watch it on HBO Max. It's a good time. Now, I will say this: it is 2 hours long. That was a bit. It's a little bit of a task to get through. But if you can, I say definitely go for it. The kids will have fun. You'll have fun because the kids will be, having fun. And if you remember seeing any of these things, if you grew up with these cartoons, you'll have nostalgic moments because they're just as funny and zany as they were back then. All right, guys. This has been Hot Takes. This has been the final episode, at least for now. I enjoyed being here. Hopefully I'll be back soon, somewhere in the future. It may not necessarily be in this capacity in a sports level, but some things are taking place in my life that need my attention, and I have to take care of those things. So it's been great, and until next time, folks, see you later.